Hey there folks, and welcome to the next 155 mile per hour cup tryouts. In this tryouts I am doing the Hyundai Genesis Grade 4. So here's the parts and things you can do to the Hyundai Genesis Grade 4, which I'll just say is not much, besides turbo upgrades. Otherwise it is a NA at first, until you add those turbo upgrades. Then it becomes a turbo. But which is, gotta say, kinda nice on that. It's actually kinda shocking too, because it wanted to stay as an NA too. Obviously, I guess the turbo's just not up to snuff. Because yeah, I will say, I could turn around and do the turbo, but it just turns out it just wasn't good enough for it. It's kind of weird. Really kind of weird on that. But yeah, I'll just say, in case you want to know what engine this is a second the Dieta motor, but it's racing tuned, so it might be a Dieta motor or not. But I'll just say, there's another Genesis car too, besides the Hyundai Genesis, which is the G70. So, just saying that. And yeah, there's no wide body nor an engine swap for it yet, surprisingly. I'm surprised on that, to be honest. And then for the rims here, because I'm just gonna say for customization, you can't really technically do a whole lot. As you can see, it's technically not much at the end of the day. At best, you can increase the inches though, which if you slap custom rims, but otherwise not a whole lot on that department, as you can see here. But yeah, basically overall that's basically about it, besides another little hidden customization, because yeah, I gotta speak about the hidden customization sometimes as we go to the thing. But yeah, as you can see here, you can just change the lens CL if you really want to. But yeah, technically not a whole lot for this at the end of it. I hope you guys like the decal too, because yeah, as the thing goes, you can get this decal as well. But first, let's talk about the setup, which yeah, in terms of what I had to do for setup for this one, I guess I had to raise suspension and increase the anti-roll bar tad, or maybe it's regular 5, I'm not sure. Sometimes I think 4 was the record though, or not, but I think I basically increased the negative chamber to increase the suspension stuff on my last tune-us, because I will say it's been a bit since last time. And especially with the sinus infection stuff I have going on, it's not fun to try to think. But yeah, basically make sure to pause and look at that transmission setup in case you want to mimic that transmission setup. Turbocharger, there's none on it, but you can turn around technically can. I just didn't for the sake of this. I'm kind of surprised I didn't. I'm really surprised about that at the end of it. I feel like something's a bit of an error there, but then again, I'm not really sure. I'm pretty sure I checked it, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that. Who knows? But otherwise, this is why I kind of just think what's kind of best for this at the end. I hit like a minute. What was that? Minute 9? Yeah, minute 9.016. Yeah. I'm sorry, I have to look at this little screen every time I have to commentate on this, I guess. But yeah, here's the decal for this, too, in case anyone wants this, which is based off the Sega Dreamcast. Because yeah, I just, it said Genesis, is like, you know what? We'll do a Dreamcast. So that he even has the reddish orange color. It's like, oh, that kind of works for it too. So the Hyundai Genesis Grade 4, which is a very interesting Grade 4 car, because you wouldn't think Hyundai did one before their Genesis Performance Luxury brand. But no, they did in process for the Hyundai Genesis. This must be back then during sport days, I'm guessing, when this came out. In terms of the Grade 4, I did not really look into if it did any cup races and stuff. I kind of assumed maybe it kind of did, maybe not. Because there's the Elantra Grade 4 nowadays, and that stuff. So, if anything else to mention, like I said, there's the Genesis G70 Grade 4, which I would say completely overlaps this car at the end of the day. Maybe there might be a bit more fuel costing differences, perhaps. Because I was at the G70 is heavier. Because reminder that this Genesis Grade 4 is an FR, which I realized a big error in my mind when it came to this car, because I always thought this car was all-wheel drive, but maybe because they changed the variation throughout Gran Turismo or something. But I could have sworn this was all-wheel drive at some point. Or maybe I might be thinking the Forza version, perhaps, because I do recall there was an all-wheel drive version. But I would say the Genesis, this Genesis here and the production one are both FRs, as it turns out. A big miscalculation on my part of checking on that. This is what happens when you just think by the mind instead of hard looking and look at the actual info. Apologies on that, as the saying goes, in advance, anytime that happens. But as the saying goes, you can't be 100% perfect, I'm sorry, it just ain't happening. You can try to get as high as you can, you're not going to get the highest. Unless you train very efficiently on how to fluently speak, so say. Which is not my forte, so say. I'll try to, though. If I had to give a shot, but you know. I just do what I'm given at the end of the day, and Hyundai Genesis Gr.4 is that case, where it kind of just... It's not bad, but it's not the greatest. It's kind of like the balance of all worlds, I would say, kind of car. It's a pretty fun machine at the end of the day, and I do have a, I would say a fan remark to this car at the end of the day, because of the other Hyundai before it, which is the Hyundai Tuscan. Which sadly, that got turned into a freaking crossover. Yeah, if you want to know what went down in terms of Hyundai, in my respect to them, is they turned the Tuscan into a crossover. While the Genesis is what replaced the Tuscan at the end of the day. Which is really sad, I'm not gonna lie. When I look at that, it's like, oh, so that's what you guys turn around and did the name to it at the end of the day. Because the Tuscan was a famous car in terms of Need for Speed Underground 2 specifically. Were you able to drive that car? And that car was freaking crazy. I will say that was like a model refresh compared to what it originally was for that car. Because I heard bad things when it came to the original of that car until the later one showed up. The later one was much better. And then this one was definitely much better, as this got the special motor that eventually the G70 has, which is the Dieta motor. Because yeah, this has the Dieta 1 motor, while the G70 has the later edition of it. So sorry. But basically, you can definitely tell by the iconic hum these engines have and stuff. It's really odd. It's really odd to say, but it's a very fast motor. I will give it that at least. Very fast, very balanced overall. It hits all the marbles of a pace kind of car, so to say. But as we can see, going around the Eiger Norman, it's definitely not bad. In like 109.030, that's definitely not bad. I'm not gonna lie. So we're already beating at least the tune setup, thank God. I think this is also where I pulled the golden lap, if I recall. I pulled a crazy golden lap at some point with this car. I think it was this very moment too. Okay, yeah, let's see here. We go around the last corner here. In 104, 105, 106, 107, 108.5, 88. Yeah, that places that, if I recall, in third place with the Scirocco Gr.4. So now off to Laguna Seca, where we try to more balance of the car at the end of the day and such. Which, yeah, speaking of balance, I might be doing some balancing changes in the future when we come to the future tryouts. But for now, I'm gonna keep as original as I can for the first 20 of these cars as the thing goes. Because yeah, I do got some big news to share while I was in the process of getting ill and stuff. Because I might have discovered a thing that I technically should have been doing to cars at the end of the day, because while I was doing incline down tuning and stuff, I kind of realized like speed cars definitely have a disadvantage on things against acceleration cars still. So I might have, in some ways, might have fixed that, in some ways might not in the process. But we will see on the future discussion here once we get to the race segment. For now, it's all about the Hyundai Genesis. But yeah, as of going around Laguna Seca with this, I'd say it's pretty good for the most part on such. So here's the overall stats. What I kind of think of the Hyundai Genesis Gr.4, which has speed 7 out of 10, 138 on the top speed of Tokyo Straight, while 113 on the acceleration department for the Eiger Climb. And then turning does a feeling thing at special, so I would say a 7 in that case. And then for the burn stats is where it gets kind of the issue with just the tires. The tires burn like no tomorrow, like the Mustang. So hitting like 1/8, so barely lasting when it came to the 8 laps of Eiger Nordland. And then the gas was like half, so I would say at best this is probably a competitor to the Mustang Gr.4 on the night of it, for the most part. And in terms of the, let's see what else is there to say. In terms of what I have to say on the issues is that the turning's kind of loose for the most part, but as long as you just keep it adjusted, you're kind of fine. For the most part, on this setup alone. So, or if you have to, just raise suspension attachment. But as the thing goes, the other thing to mention overall, I kind of think of is it's kind of a high B, I would say, in terms of rank. Because sprint-wise, it's pretty good. The endurance side, I would say less though. I would definitely say like maybe a B because of the tires. The tires is what really F's the Genesis over at the end of the day. For the most part. The gas is fine, because that lasts forever. But the tires, though, is where it gets the issue at the end of the day and such. Yeah, overall not a bad machine, it's just not the greatest on that department, so on that department. So now on the straightaway here, if we get the Hyundai Genesis 2 times, which yeah, I realized I didn't have the Mustang or the Honda Beat R on the times there. I decided to turn around and add those, and to say, it turns out the Mustang is very much the competitor for this at the end of the day. And I would say so far the Mustang is kind of just beating it at this point. So it needs to beat the Mustang. You beat the Mustang at 132.129. So let's see if it does it here. If not, well, it is what it is. So it's like that. Which I guess you wonder if it beat that Eiger Nordland too. No. The Mustang did a 1.08.246, so it's 0.3 off. So in terms of overall pace, it seems the Genesis is just overall just a tad slower compared to the Mustang. Like I'm trying to remember what the gas and tires was left too, because I don't have as much here. I was assuming it's kind of same in that case, so it makes me wonder on that. So that's probably what led to the G70 being made over the Genesis. Then in that case, I wonder on that department. But yeah, as we get around to the turns here, and 105.669 on that checkpoint. Get around the slopes. Down to the last pit turn. God, this feels like a pit turn sometimes. You know, the actual pit turn's like on the inner turn there. At the inner split. Yeah, and 132.220. I think that's pretty close. I think that was pretty close there. Come on, yeah. Yeah, that was pretty close. That was 0.1 away. Wow. That was very close. The Mustang had like 129 for within a second, so I was like, geez, that was very close on that. Alright, so now to the one lap of showing you around Tokyo Expressway. I think it's south counterclockwise if I recall. God, because I always get confused about that. It's like either south or it's east. The thing goes. Always confused. I don't want to be wrong, but sometimes I'm wrong. As the thing goes. But yeah, overall, the Hyundai Genesis, yeah, that basically just proves my point there. Genesis is kind of just, in a case I would say it's similar pace to the Mustang, but surprisingly, oh, you know what? I think the fuel might be better at least, but the tires still make up for it though. Tires are what kills it the most, if anything, I would say. So if anything, I probably would suggest is maybe lower that negative camber that I did instead in response to that, perhaps, because that is the one way to doing it. The other way is adding weight to shift the weight to where it doesn't burn up the tires whenever you brake and such. Because yeah, I will say when you brake, sometimes if the front tires give, if your front tires are given more, that's usually the case where you're braking, where your brakes are gonna matter when you brake or not brake and stuff. I guess that's the best way I think to imply it. If not, that's it. I don't know what's a better way to say that. This thing goes. But yeah, here we go with the first lap here, and we're hitting a minute 46.736 here. So overall, not bad. So now let's just jump straight to the best lap. See where this goes here. Ooh, 147.8. So it seems the 146.7 was the best for a good while. It seems. Dang, I'm not surprised. Sometimes it is kind of tough to pull a better lap sometimes. Yeah, going around the one gun curves here, as you call it. That's what, like I said, that's what this track gives me. It gives me one gun vibes. Even though people do not like talk about this track for some reason. Probably because of your crazy, precious, special state Route 5. Everything goes. Even though, here's the thing, I like Special Stage Route 5. But I don't consider this track the replacement of that. I consider it its own thing, if anything. Special Stage Route 5 can come back anytime it pleases, because to me, Special Stage Route 5 was more of a circuit track than a street track. Which I think that was the problem when they made that track, because they wanted it to be a street track, but it felt a whole lot different than a one-gun track, I'll say. It's more of a circuit track, if anything, so... If anything, I would suggest turn around and turn Special Stage Route into a circuit somewhere. Don't know where. A lot of people say it'll be right next to Route X, but I'm not really sure on that one. It'll also be kind of weird why a test facility track at the end of the day. I mean, just because it's called Special Stage Route X doesn't mean we can't have our own version of Special Stage Route X, you know? So I'm saying. And then Japan has its own Special Stage Route as well, so... And considering Special Stage Route 5 and 11 were here at Japan, so... In 146.391. Overall, not bad, not bad. On that department. You will try to beat the Mustang, I do not remember. Let's see it real quick. But yeah, overall, in terms of what you can do with it, not a whole lot. In that department, unless you turn around and slap the turbo on, you could turn around and did the turbo race, but otherwise, if anything I would suggest is GT Cup Gr.4 because of the BOP regulations and the World Touring Car 600. And when I say World Touring Car 600, I preferably would say the corners and stuff. I have a core advantage over the high power velocity machines that are in there at the end of it. But yeah, the Mustang did 146.1, so it was close. It was very close. But yeah, now on to Laguna Seca for this. Since I did 10 cars, we're resetting the tracks I get to do at the end of the day. So going back to Laguna Seca with this versus the sports cars. And I say sports cars loosely because you might notice something here. Or not, actually, because yeah, I'm looking at the list, same list so far. But you'll see a few different newcomers of cars, I'll just say, because the sports cars is going to be the next series. Well, not the next series I'm going to be doing, that pedestrians will be the next one. But to say though, sports is already affected by this because they were actually the first ones to be affected by this testing I'm doing. Where I'm going to be testing the car based around the track. See how fast it goes around that track. If it hits a speed higher than the speed I want, then I either lower it or up it if it's lower. So I say. So yeah, that's what I'm basically gonna be doing now. From now on, is base it off a mid-sized track, and if the climbing speed is on par with that car, then that's fine. But if it's not, or on par with the regulation speed I want, then it's fine. If it's not, then it doesn't get a pass at the end of it. So yeah, that's basically what I'm gonna be doing for future ups for the next tryouts in the future and stuff. So basically, in other words, what I'm saying is I'm basically gonna have to be doing the Cups tryouts all over again at some point. But I'm not gonna change the cars in between of the season because that would not feel right at the end of the day. As a result and such. So yeah, that would not feel right at all in that department. So instead, I'm just gonna basically what's the best way to say it? Basically just gonna let loose of the first 20 for now, and then eventually when we get to the pedestrian ones, which that'll be the next one. Cause yeah, when I say pedestrian, I mean like pedestrian sports cars and stuff. Which yeah, the Miata barely made it this time around on the newer testings and stuff, but this basically helps for those speed cars that are just nothing but speed and like no acceleration given at the end of the day. I guess in other words, yeah, the Furious would not be a great car for sports speed because it has no acceleration whatsoever to back that up. In other words, it would not pass the test. Even if it tried, as thing goes. Now, if you think because I do that, does that mean acceleration cars are slower in that case? A slight yes and a slight no to that, because at the end of the day, it more affects the speed cars. When I see speed cars, I mean all about that speed, like no acceleration, just like all about that speed, like the Prius kind of bad acceleration. Because yeah, there is such cars examples as example is the previous one I did, which was the Honda Beat, and the Honda Beat was that first clue that gave me that ideal, so say. So you can thank that Honda Beat for that ideal. Such. So I don't know if the Honda Beat's gonna be much better when I do this tune-up in the future here, because basically the track I'm gonna be doing in the future for the pedestrian cars is gonna be based on the Brandhatch track. And the Brandhatch track, there's a straightaway where my goal is to hit 130 miles per hour. If it doesn't hit that 130 miles per hour on that straight before I break in, then it doesn't pass. As it goes. Now, in case you're wondering about the sports cars case, because yeah, these are all sports cars, in 300 kilometers or 186 miles per hour. That's a 386 miles per hour, because I don't switch the kilometers at all. Because what the hell is a kilometer? As the saying goes. Basically, they need to hit 160 miles per hour on the Tokyo Straight at the end of the day. And you would think, oh, well, wait, isn't Tokyo Straight a speed track? Not for these cars' case, no. No, they have a much larger track to attend to for their case. That track, Tokyo South Clockwise, I hope I'm saying that right again. That track is the balance track for these cars' case. While maybe I think Iger Dorland's still probably gonna be the cornering track, I guess, for it or not. I'm not really sure. But I'm basically gonna pick a bigger track, something that hits like 2 minutes and 30 anymore. Because another reason why I did one lap for Tokyo Expressway now is because it's a long track for the Cups cars in this case. Because yeah, hitting 155 on that Tokyo Straight is a bit of a draft, I would say. And it pulls a high strain of the car at the end of the day, which is a similar case to like a down incline of Special Safety X, what it feels like. So yeah, that speed testing will not work out well for Cup cars in that case, in that matter of my sense on that. Which at the end of the day, it's like it might be like a more of a my goalpost. If you do not hit my goalpost, I ain't gonna count you at the end of the day. It's like a technically like that, and yeah, it's a bit of a negligence, but hey, if I want to try some sort of regulation that isn't like the BOP, for example, of butt crap, I'll take it at the end of the day. I just have to make it at the end of the day, and I don't know if this is gonna be the best making, but I'm trying to look for the best formula possible. So that way each car can have a balance of fun, so to say, to it. If there is just a meta car, there just is a meta car at that point. And believe me, there's a bunch of meta cars. Every now and then. you'll see one that sticks out like sore thumb. And an example is a car that claims itself to be the sports car, but it's not a sports car. Which, what I'm referring to is the Alfa Romeo 4C, for example. The other example, what was it? Oh yeah, the Clio V6 has, sadly, the Renault 5 is not fast enough for the sports now, as I do that testing. And I gotta admit, this 160 mile per hour is strict, but I have to do it for the higher acceleration cars, because most of the higher acceleration cars, another reason why I did it, the higher acceleration cars can get up to speed like real easy in terms of the climbs and stuff. That's the other reason why I did that overall and such. But yeah, as you can see here though, these cars are a lot more competitive than they were before, as the saying goes. Like, the FTO is actually staying around this time around instead of being held back all the way in the back of the gutter at the end of the day. And then yeah, say hello to like one of the weird situations that happened in this race, so to say. Because for some reason the Mercedes spun out, but here's the biggest FU to me, I guess, because I decided to get a freaking flag as a result of that, which I call BS, because everyone else did the same thing to him, why can't I do it? So I say, hello AI favoritism, if I see one. Good God, and they say AIs get penalties. No, they don't. They don't get penalties worth a damn. As thing goes. But yeah, as you can see, a big fundamental problem with the last lap here, which sadly you're not going to see much because I can scroll through the cars to get to it. Because I didn't realize this was technically the last lap here. My bad on that part, my bad. But yeah, as you can see, I was driving bald at that point because, yeah, that's the biggest problem about the Honda Genesis. You with all that fuel, you're never going to really use that whole fuel with the benchmarks of 12 times tires, because this car burns its tires like no tomorrow. But then again, I think I do recall the Genesis being kind of a heavy car too. I think it's like 3,000 pounds or so. So yeah, maybe that's might be why the tires are burnt a whole lot at the end of the day. And it's also a 2013 car, so I gotta say. And I would say if there's like good thing about the upper years of cars is that they had more controls about the tires of when the tires burn and stuff, where the older year cars still had a problem of burning their tires at the end. Even if this is like 2013, but then again, you know, it could be just more of a Honda problem. I could be just making it up. It's anything else. I'm just thinking theorize that theory in a theory at the end of the day. So please don't factual it. As anything goes. But yeah, I'm just looking at the MX, or not the MX. But yeah, we have a Mazda RX-8 here too now in the race too. Because yeah, there's opponents. We have the new Clio, we have the RX-8, we have another one too. Virtual. God, my brain's not thinking it. So sadly, that's about it for the race. Because as you see here, I crossed the line. I think, oh, well, shit. But yeah, in terms of opponents I had left that was chasing after me was E-Type. He was getting close, man, especially when I was driving bald. When you drive bald, it feels like you're driving comfort tires, I'll just say. Your car wants to give up at that point. And luckily, I still crossed the line. I'll give a good pace at the end of the day. But that basically wraps that. Well, overall, what I think of the Honda Genesis. I think it's a phenomenal, fun little car to drive. You know, but tune in next time when we do the Suzuki Carry KC 2012. And speaking of what hits 130 on the brain hatch, this car does. But until then, folks, I'll see you guys all next time. Take care and ciao. Thanks for watching, and hope you like what you watch. Take care, people.